Good afternoon, boys and girls.
Good afternoon, sir.
If it is to be, there is not enough life. If it is to be,
Enough to be.
I wish to congratulate you on the initiative that I saw yesterday. And such extracurricular activities make you an all-rounder. While we take initiative on all those things, it will develop your total personality to face the world. Yet, do not lose focus on the main area of interest. Do not lose focus on the main area of career that you are expected to be ready for when you finish this class. In order to help you get where you want to go, I am going to take you to a class on accelerated learning techniques. And accelerated learning techniques is a program which will give you a chance to learn what you are now learning in about 3 hours. I'll be glad to help you to learn in 1 hour. And that's a promise if you follow the steps that I give you today. Accelerated learning techniques. Why do we need accelerated learning techniques? Have a look at it. And we'll see. We'll listen to an international authority on the issue first.
Every subject that you need to learn has a core idea. And once you've understood what that core idea is, then everything else that you learn adds to your expertise and makes sense because it fits into that overall big idea. Well, the big idea, the core idea in accelerated learning is that everyone has a personal learning style, a way of learning that suits them best. And once you've found the learning tools, the strategies, if you like, that match that personal learning style, well, you'll be learning in ways that suit your particular brain. And because it's therefore more natural, it's more comfortable, and it's easier. And because it's easier, it's quicker. Hence the name accelerated learning. Well, this video will give you dozens of ideas to learn better and faster. Try them, pick the ones that suit you best, and you'll have a set of learning tools that's custom made for your brain. But why would you want to become a faster learner? I think there are 5 reasons. First, knowledge is doubling every 2 or 3 years. There's more to read, there's more to know. What you know today, unfortunately, won't buy you success tomorrow. Secondly, the average person now leaving college can expect 5 careers in a lifetime. That's not jobs, that's careers. Thirdly, nobody today can guarantee their employment. But what you can do is you can guarantee your employability, which comes from constantly expanding your skills and simply learning faster than your competitors. Fourthly, we're in the era of mind power, not manpower. To earn more, you have to learn more. And fifthly, technology is the driving force today, and of course it's changing faster and faster. It's all summed up in one word: change. The constant upgrading of your skills, lifelong learning, is the minimum threshold to stay competitive today. And in such a fast-changing world, learning how to learn surely has to be the core skill, because what you learn can, in fact, will become out of date. How to learn, well, that's a skill for life. And that's incidentally why I really hope that you'll share the techniques on this video with your children. Let me spend a few moments talking about your brain, because that's, of course, what you learn with. 90% of what we now know about the human brain has been discovered in the last 20 years, and accelerated learning is based upon those important new discoveries. Accelerated learning, as you'll see, consciously starts with the big picture because that suits the faster, global, learning right side of the brain. But then it presents information logically to suit the more linear left side of the brain. Here's one of the most fascinating of the new discoveries. There's a middle part of the brain which is a key to your learning. This middle brain controls your emotions, your immune system, a lot of the long-term memory, and it acts rather like a filter. Now, information coming into your brain from your senses passes through this middle brain, but If you're under stress, well, that information may not get released properly to the top thinking brain. The final information you need on your brain is that the idea of a single fixed form of intelligence, which you can measure as an IQ, has, I'm pleased to say, been discredited. In its place, Dr. Howard Gardner, who's professor of education at Harvard University, has shown that we have at least seven different forms of intelligence, and maybe an eighth. Each of those intelligences represents a resource for learning. You have a linguistic intelligence, the ability to absorb and use the written and spoken word. A mathematical logical intelligence, the ability to handle numbers and sequences and logically presented data. There's a visual spatial intelligence. You use this in navigation, in drawing, sculpture, diagrams. There's a physical intelligence, the ability to use your body well. Interpersonal, the ability to communicate well, to read other people's moods and body language sensitively. There's an intrapersonal intelligence. That's an inner-directed intelligence, the ability to be reflective, to make plans, to draw conclusions. And finally, a musical intelligence, the ability to use rhythm and rhyme well. Now, the result of all our research on learning and the brain has led us to see that effective learning follows 6 stages. Let me go over them briefly. Stage 1, your state of mind. You need to be relaxed, motivated, and focused. In other words, to mobilize that middle brain. Stage 2, whatever you're learning, it involves fresh information coming into your brain from the outside. So learning involves seeing and hearing and doing. And the more sharply your senses are focused on the subject, the better you will learn. Stage 3, you've now taken in the information. Well, now you need to actively explore the subject to make it your own. And that's when you'll use as many of your intelligences as possible. Stage 4, having understood the subject, you still need to commit it to memory in such a way that a simple trigger will cause the rest of the information to come flooding back. Stage 5, you now need to know, if you do know, to test yourself. In other words, do I really know this? And finally, stage 6, you need to reflect upon the whole process. In other words, to think back on which techniques really worked well for you and which ones might need to be modified. You see, you're now thinking not so much about what you've learned, but about how you learned it. These 6 stages provide an organized framework for fast and effective learning.
Friends, Colin Rose is a world-renowned authority on how to learn. And what does he say? What we learn may go out of date, but the skill how to learn is going to remain with us lifelong. And what is in it for you? If you look at what heaven has disposed and sealed in is the inborn nature. Each one of us is gifted with certain level of intelligence, level of mental ability. All are not equal, but the realization of this nature is the process. The clarification of this process is education. Who said this? Have you ever heard that name? Good. Now, to realize the potential that is given to us by birth or by hereditary factor, how do we go about? Excel in whatever field you are in, develop better learning habits. Learning is a reward in itself. Have you felt good when you mastered some subject that was difficult and you felt that you mastered it? Have you ever felt good about it? Yes. And learning and accomplishing a certain amount of intake of information with confidence puts you into such a high feeling of self-confidence. And that is one step to further learning. When you are finished school, you enter the great real school of life and take yourself in hand and begin your self-education. For a few more years, you may have colleges, professors, teachers around you. After that, the real learning begins in the world of real life, workplace and in real living. And what is that is expected of us? If not, our Stachini so well expressed it, the age which is supposed to be the age of reason, is the one where one begins to commit serious stupidities. Yes. When we are expected to take decisions in life, and that's where often we make mistakes. And schools teach you what to learn. Am I right? Has any time anyone taught you the method of applying your mind systematically to learn? No. And if you will take this class, you will only need about 1/10 of your time to pour over your books and produce the same result you are producing today. Do you believe SALT, Students Accelerated Learning Techniques, can help you? Once you understand, you will be more convinced in saying yes. World today has, as I previously told you, only 1% of knowledge compared to what will be in 50 years. And you already feel the information overload through the internet. And how many of you have access to an internet? And you know what I mean by it. Each one, you, me, and every single one has access to all the information that we want. But do we have time for it all? And learning gives you the edge over the others. Accelerated learning techniques. Learning is the source of earning. Name, fame, wealth, and money. Do not forget this. And with the type of mental readiness and ambition that we pursue to learning, we will make it to a better place of living. And if that aspect is being missed out by anyone, please wake up your classmates. These are the stages where the foundation is laid. Now is the time to make it in life. Then life will be comfortable. If these moments are lost, life will be one of tears, and that must be remembered. We only use about 5% of our capabilities, as William James said 100 years ago. And the best investment anyone can make first is in ourselves, then in our children. Look at your fathers who have probably earned a very good living here, financially secure, and feel comfortable. Where did all that success come from? Have you ever given a thought? When they were children, if your parents are high-level professionals holding high-level jobs, where did it begin? When they were in school and colleges. That's where they managed to get that mental ability, that skill, and the knowledge and the confidence to acquire and maintain this kind of opportunity. And those who had invested time, energy, and money in themselves learned. And later, of course, some of your parents may be in business. There comes intellectual capital, financial capital, and manpower investment. All that comes in. It's all an investment which produces the result. The great people, I had given you these names. Mark Twain never used a paper to remember the entire speech whenever he made one. Lord Macaulay was a man who could remember a whole book in one reading. And Toscanini remembered operas after operas totally by heart. And remembering musical notes is not easy, and it takes a lot of learning. Lee Blackie became the most famous blind lawyer. And Perry Ford, the man who learned the entire telephone directory of New York. Paul Janellus, at the age of 38, could speak 42 languages. They were all probably superhuman beings. But here is an example of two medical students in St. John's Medical College who applied the techniques which I gave to them. They were the only two to get a distinction and first class in that batch out of the 60. Face your exams by using the SALT. Tony Thomas and Tina Thomas, a brother-sister in Abu Dhabi, both of them made it to distinction, and to the boy in IIT, the girl in Regional Engineering College. You probably know the family. Some students in Dubai who scored 100% in TOEFL, who have been trained by me, used this simple technique and have scored 100% in TOEFL, a few of them. My assets are between my ears, said Bill Gates, the richest man in the world, who says his assets are between his ears. Are we building our assets? If we are on the way to success. Mediocrity is self-imposed. Remember these words. Genius is self-bestowed. You know the difference between mediocrity and genius? Do you? Alright. It's up to each one of us to choose. Salt speaks to your unconscious and subconscious mind, and student accelerated learning technique uses the right side of your brain and the left side of your brain. Do you know what the right side of the brain does? Takes pictures. Left side of the brain takes in the words and the concepts. They combine. And this particular system of learning will help you to use both the areas. Salt uses the power of imagination, wakes your inner senses, use mnemonic images for you to learn. By the way, we always think in pictures. Remember this, huh? We do not think in words. Even when we are thinking in words, the pictures of the words that relate come to our mind. Am I right? Therefore, more visual and visually oriented learning for most of you. Some people are more oriented towards sound intake. Some people, even after seeing and hearing, they have to go home and do something. Only then the information goes in. You will find out which area is the best for you. A trained imagination helps you to learn better. If it gives you mastery of imagination, rehearse your peak performance at any stage of life. Give you an example. I gave you the example of lemon juice. Did I? Do you know the Olympic athletes? They always see their activity in their mind before they go for the final performance. If somebody is on a diving board, if they are about to dive several meters down into the water, they see every turn their body might make, and even they can see the splash they might cause in the water, and then they go. Everything is made twice in the world, once in the imagination of the men and women who make it, then in the reality. And without planning and imagination, nothing is made. The last two decades have brought tremendous scientific understanding of how mind and body works. Salt brings together insight from many diverse disciplines and give you a revolutionary new way to evolve and succeed. Salt shows you how to use all your senses and imagination for your studies, resulting in multi-sensory input. Learning happens most effectively when the whole person is involved. Do you agree? How do you get the whole person involved? We'll take you to the step by step. The first step, please come. The first step in any learning process is, the first step, please note this, underline this now. Go to your notes where you have 6 stages of learning. There is a portion in the notes where you have got 6 stages of learning. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Please note these steps very systematically, and if you will apply, I promise you, you will have grasped anything that you are learning 10 times better and for a longer time. First step, get into the right mood to study, my friends. How do you get into the mood? How many of you know how to work with the computer? Most of you. If you want to work with the computer, what do you do first? Switch on the computer. Luckily, this computer is switched on from the time we were probably conceived, or maybe a little bit further developed, and from that time till we breathe the last, the computer is always on. After turning on a computer, what is the next stage to work with the computer? Search for a thing on one, or get into a program. Do you agree with that statement? And how does human supercomputer get into a program? Take the first 1 minute. Whenever you sit down to do any learning, any studying, get the first 1 minute, take deep breath, relax, and speak to yourself. In the next hour of my learning, I am going to absolutely and perfectly master all important elements in this lesson. How do we achieve that mental preparedness? You go to the dining table with an empty stomach. What does your body and mind get ready to do? Eat. Sure? Alright. You go to a place of worship. What does your mind and body get ready to do? To pray. When you turn on the music system or the television, what do you get ready to do? Relax and entertain yourself. When you go and sit at your study desk, do you ever get the mood of ambitious, determined learning? If you have got, now that sometimes have to become frequently if you want to be a winner in life. Let's make it very clear. If you have no mental intention and readiness to learn, you will absorb information very little. Please understand this. And after that 1 minute of mental concentration, deep breathing, relaxation, and speaking to yourself, I am a good learner, I am going to learn thoroughly what is in this chapter. Next step. What do you normally do? Start reading line by line. Am I right? Please don't do it. Human brain is not a linear scanner. Just imagine a person walks through that, opens the door and comes through the gate at the door. Do you scan the hairline, forehead, eyes, nose? Do we? We don't. We see the whole person first. Then we focus attention on the type of hair, type of nose, type of eyes, etc. Same thing with human brain. Please understand. Don't read line by line straight away. Look at the headline of the chapter. If there are any sub-headlines, if there are any graphs, any pictures, go through it quickly, right to the end by scanning through only the headlines and sub-headlines. Please do this as a second step. You get an overall idea of what this chapter is all about. The next step, at the end, if there are summaries and questions, please read the summary first and then read every question at the end one by one. You get an overall picture, and while reading the questions at the end, you may not be able to answer any of those at this stage. Don't worry, please. But when you read those questions, you are setting the target. What is expected of me when I finish working with this chapter? Your goal is set. Now you're really ready to tackle lessons. Go right to the beginning of the chapter.
Dr. Howard Gardner, who's professor of education at Harvard University, has shown that we have at least seven different forms of intelligence, and maybe an eighth. Each of those intelligences represents a resource for learning. You have a linguistic intelligence, the ability to absorb and use the written and spoken word. A mathematical logical intelligence, the ability to handle numbers and sequences and logically presented data. There's a visual spatial intelligence. You use this in navigation, in drawing, sculpture, diagrams. There's a physical intelligence, the ability to use your body well. Interpersonal, the ability to communicate well, to read other people's moods and body language sensitively. There's an intrapersonal intelligence. That's an inner-directed intelligence, the ability to be reflective, to make plans, to draw conclusions. And finally, a musical intelligence, the ability to use rhythm and rhyme well. Now,
Stages that we saw from them is only a guideline. I gave you the first step. You concentrate your mind, attentively get into the mood. Second, you look at the overall picture of the chapter. Go right up to the end, read all the questions that are at the end and the summary. Then you will get an overall picture. That is the first stage which is shown in the picture module that I have given you. Can you look at that now? And that's, let me come to the right place where we go. Yes. Yeah. After we have read the questions, come back to the beginning. read every paragraph with as much concentration as possible and make a pictorial note. And why make pictorial note of every possible chapter? Absolutely. Human brain thinks in pictures. Therefore, if you are able to make even cartoon-like bubble pictures, centralize the topic you are learning and put in one bubble the first paragraph, the extracted information. Maybe pictures will do in symbols. Maybe keywords will do. Maybe a few words will do. And if possible, those words that you put, make them your own words. And it becomes easier for you to remember. The next stage, after you have made an extraction of each individual part of the learning, make a whole picture frame like what you have got here is a 64 page summarized on one single sheet. And this very method is the way to win. Any chapter, however the number of pages or whatever the number of pages you may have, the key to winning is summarize, make them visually, quickly seen by you on one page preferably. Do you understand what I am talking about? And this is the one method particularly used in the medical colleges where subjects in biology are very easily summarized in picture form. In mathematics you cannot do. In every other subject, maybe English literature you may not be able to do this method of learning, visualizing. But every other subject it is possible to practice. Do you understand what I am talking about? Okay. The exercise that I would expect from those active students like you is whatever chapter you are now learning, whether it is in accountancy, whether it is in economics, what else are you learning? Management. Take one chapter that you are currently learning or just finished learning. Can you make a learning map by day after tomorrow? And how do you do it? Use the steps I gave you and pick out the key elements and make a cartoon picture, one single page, all the elements that are in the chapter. Would you be able to do it? And if you do, what happens with you is you don't have to read that chapter again and again and again. You don't have to do. You only have to glance at that one page a number of times. And smarter ones among you will revise it once every week to glance through throughout the course. And if you do, that will be photographed inside your brain, and a few days before the examination, if you really want to test whether you know every bit of what you are expected to know, close this picture map and produce one from your mind. And after you have reproduced another map, compare what are the elements you have missed out. And if you do it with most of the important chapters, you will be a winner in examinations. And to the stages that we need, once you have taken the first stage, the human intelligence. Are you a linguistic intelligent person? Meaning, are you more language oriented person? Then in that case, any subject you learn, you paraphrase, rephrase in your mind. If you are a visual spatial intelligence person, what does that mean? Do you understand what is visual person intelligence? Somebody who is very artistic and sees pictures and visualizes and takes pictures very quickly. And if you are that kind of a person, I would strongly recommend make more learning maps, color it, paint it, sketch it, do drawing, etc. If you are a physical intelligence person, who is a physical intelligence person? Anyone who is good at sports, games, activities is a very high level of physically intelligent person. And they are great winners in the world, some of them are. And if you by chance are a physical intelligence person, when you learn something, you may not like to sit down all the time. You like to move around. Please move around. There is no problem. As long as it helps you, your pattern of learning. Are you with me? Fine. If you are one of those logical, mathematical intelligence person, you want everything like item number 1, item number 2, item number 3, item number 4, etc. This is very systematic. Those who go into computer software programming, you will soon realize what that means. Very systematic, step-by-step progress. And interpersonal intelligence. What is that intelligence? Has anyone ever told you what is interpersonal intelligence? Are you a person who makes friendship with other people very easily? Do you get along with people? Such students strongly recommend them. Make friends with equally bright or even more challenging classmates and study together. And those of you who are very bright, teach your classmates who are weaker. Help them. And both of you will win. And both of you learn better. And that's meant by interpersonal intelligence person who discusses, compares notes and keeps in touch with other people and learn better. And next stage is intrapersonal intelligence. What is that? Thinking ability, reflecting ability, analyzing what is happening with us. What was the last time you sat down for 5 calm minutes and asked yourself, what am I doing with my life? How am I learning? Am I being responsible with my life as expected of me? These are called people who have got reflecting ability. And anyone who reflects even for 5 minutes a day or even 1 minute a day will be a better human being in terms of self-grip and control and discipline, systems, dealing with people, etc. They will become more professional and responsible. That's the key. And remember, the most important element in success at workplace, because of my years of experience, I am requesting you to understand, people are looking for proactive, self-directed, responsible people. Proactive, self-directed, responsible people. And they are the ones that are required in the industry, and they always ride high. Finally, musical intelligence. If somebody is very good at do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si and is good at combining it, they might be much happier listening 30 days of September, April, June and November. Have you ever learned this? Huh? If you learned it many years ago in a rhyme and rhythm, it is remembered for much longer than anything that is learned without music. Huh? And you are planning to do some work on Antakshari. You will see the tremendous amount of memory your classmates have got when it comes to remembering music. And music seems to be very conducive to better learning. These are the areas. First, linguistic, logical, mathematical, musical, visual, spatial, intrapersonal, physical and interpersonal intelligences, which are all within the reach of every one of us. Brain is a pattern making machine and learning system that makes patterns of every lesson will be saving hours of learning. The next stage, after you have made the learning map for every chapter, I know the medical students who have taken up seriously, and all the students who have taken up system seriously, I see them having a very thin notebook with only about 10-15 sheets of paper for the entire textbook. Yes. Medical students have got some chapters up to 40, 50, 60, 100 pages, and I have seen them make them into such picture notes which are only into 2 or 3 pages, and they are able to remember everything by just flipping through. And frequent flipping through reminds them of the points that are required so that you do not forget what you've learned. That is the advantage of this kind of notes. For deeper understanding, you have to look at content, context, background, foreground and relate knowledge with what you already have. We had a look at how our brain looks at things from different perspectives. That we will not go into detail today. This is, can you see? Compel your mind to use different angles, for example. Practice shifting your focus from seeing this cue from above and from below. And see how, whether you see a different structure. Does it look like a box, open cover box, or does it look like a solid box? what does it look like to you? And if you look from other different angles, you understand? So it's the same picture and you look at from a different angle. Now, where is the light coming from in this picture? Usually the light shines from down from above. In the next picture, you can see the light lining on top, and in the left one it's on the top, in the right one it's at the bottom. With the result, right one looks submerged, pushed under, the left one looks elevated. Now let us look at the same thing in a different angle. Because the light source changed, you have a totally different perspective. Now look at, practice seeing this button as depressed. Are you able to imagine that button as depressed in your mind? Can you? Then the light source might shift in your thoughts. Can you see this as elevated? It is possible because you had a glance at the previous way it existed. Now, ideal place to study. How many of you lie down and think you can study? Why don't you eat lying down? Friends, a relaxed, easy material for learning or relaxed magazine reading can be done generally. But anything that you seriously want to absorb, you must be attentive, alert, and the proper posture is recommended. Sometimes you may be so tired, it's up to you. But generally, the mind will not take in information when you are too relaxed and not seriously intending to take information. Study, always make sure the room is uncluttered and without distraction. How many of you have got a tape recorder, a radio, and a television in your study room? No. When I do hope, when you are actually studying, those are off. Very few people are able to really do serious mental work with music at the background. At workplace, where there is no serious mental concentration required, soft music has been found to be beneficial. Next, know what to study. Are you able to sift out what you need? Or do you, like, what were the 4 categories of students? Sponge, the strainer, the funnel, sieve. And that's where it comes to your know what to study. Make sure you know what is to be studied. Check the syllabus to see what chapters are to be studied. Have all the materials ready. Have all the materials necessary, such as textbooks, notes, and class handouts. Friends, never go to a classroom without totally fully prepared with the books, notebooks, and writing equipment. If you go, it is an indication that you are not mentally prepared for it. You will never go to a workplace. If you are a technician, you will never go to a place of work without your technical tools. Would you? Definitely not. Psych yourself up. At the beginning of each study section, take that 1 minute to get in the mood. Establish goals, as I told you, by reading the questions at the end. Preview study materials and extract information and make the type of picture notes we requested you to make. Revise your notes. Please, these notes are easily revised, and the minimum frequency of revision once within, if possible, within 1 hour of the initial learning, if possible. That generally is not possible because of the number of hours of class you have. But the same day, please, before you go to sleep, have a glance at the material that was taken in the class today. If there is a homework to be done, do it before sleeping. Because if you do not see a material or have a look at the material within the first few hours, it is almost like most of it is gone when 24 hours are gone. But if you glance it once, initial revision within 1 hour probably, or definitely the same day, another quick glance. If you made this kind of notes, you need only 1 or 2 minutes to revise a chapter. Once every day, and later once a week until the examination. If you have this kind of notes, it is possible for you to glance through. You don't have to read pages after pages. Try and see the effect of this kind of notes, and you will be surprised. All my notes are made in picture form. Any book, any lecture notes, they are all made in picture form, and makes it easier. This I had the technician do it in detail. Take breaks. How many minutes can you at your age concentrate at one time studying? Do you know? Any guess? About half an hour, maximum 1 hour. After that, please take a break of about 10 minutes and move around physically. Then, if you are at home, do something with your hands. Maybe washing up, maybe cooking, maybe playing a piano, keyboard, maybe even learning the blind touch typing system. By the way, how many of you know how to type using the blind touch typing system? I would strongly recommend you. It will save you hours later in life. At this young age, if you spend a few minutes on your keyboard using the typing tutor, shoot those letters, learn the art of blind touch typing. It will save you many hours later in life, because all of you will be working with a computer, whatever general professions that you may be involved when you are at the place of work. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Because if you are typing with 2 fingers, you maximum will type about 20 to 25 words a minute. If you are typing with all the fingers that are expected to be used, 50 to 60 words easily, and generally more accurately. Do something during the break. Make use of all 7 intelligences. Compare notes with friends, and that is the thing I told you for those who have got an intelligence that is committed to mutual friendship. Commit to memory. Some education systems may condemn memorizing, but my friends, whatever we cannot remember, can we claim it as our knowledge? Can we? Not possible. Therefore, what we need to remember, commit to memory. Repeat it often enough so that it remains in the memory. Reflect, the final stage. After you have read for 45 minutes, made the learning map, what do you do? Or 1 hour you studied. After that, what do you do? Close the book and go. Please, just as you took 1 minute in the beginning, spend 1 or 2 minutes at the end. Hold your fingers on that last page. Now look at those questions once again before you get up and go. This is the concluding saving act. Don't miss out on it, please. You have spent 45-50 minutes of concentrated learning, took the material in, and now glance through the questions one by one. You don't have to write the answers, please no. If the answer comes in your own words in your mind, you got it. If the answer does not come, what you should do is look at it. At the end, please don't run away from the books. Take a few minutes to reflect. Answer those questions in your own mind. If you are able to do it, you have got that chapter. And with that learning map, enough is gathered for future references. If something is to be enlarged or more detailed study is required, then you look at that particular page once again, that's all. Then take a break, go. After break, will you continue with the same subject? Please no. Always change and use another subject. Now, would you like to study when you are fast asleep? Would you like to make use of the time when you are fast asleep in order to refresh you mentally and be ready with more information? Is it possible? I will show you what is possible and what's happening to you while you sleep, so that you will begin to realize that sleep can be used. Before you see that video, let me tell you, those of you who wish to make really good use of your sleep, raise the hand to learn effectively without any hard work. Fine. If you're serious about it, turn off the television or any other recreational activity just about 30 minutes before going to sleep. Don't go from television to sleep if you wish to make use of your sleep for effective learning. What do? Take any subject you find difficult, and if you are particularly having difficulty with any particular subject, take that as your challenging subject to try out. Spend that half an hour, however tired physically, mentally you may be. With all your concentration possible, read and study that chapter. Then, I would strongly recommend spend 1 minute before going to sleep reflecting and asking yourself, what have I done with myself today? If the answer inside says you did a terrific job of yourself and in making use of the available resources, time and the opportunity, if the answer inside is positive, pat your own shoulder and go to sleep. You will sleep well. If the answer inside says, hey, boy, girl, you could have done a lot better, then think about it for tomorrow. What happens at night then? During the sleep, you are not dead. What is happening to you is this. Watch. Just see how alive, how awake you are during sleep.
Although it takes up 1/3 of our lives, sleep was long the poet's realm, not the scientist's. "O gentle sleep, nature's soft nurse," wrote Shakespeare. No longer is sleep regarded as devoid of mental activity. In infant and adult, during part of every normal night's sleep,
Pay attention.
the brain is as active as in the waking state. We're most active during REM sleep, the time when we usually dream and our eyes move rapidly beneath closed lids. Thus the name, REM, for rapid eye movements. At a scientific exhibit, the dreaming subject's active brain waves are projected as vertical green laser beams, her eye movements by a dancing blue laser.
Why did I show the dancing blue light or blue signals of the brain waves while they were sleeping? Those signals indicate that our brain is as active as though we are walking around in the street while we are fast asleep, that intellectual part of the brain. It is the body, rest of the activities is taking rest. The brain is as active while fast asleep as though we are walking around. With the result, whatever material you learned last few minutes while you were reading, that material is churned around and is repeatedly dealt with, it seems, during the night. And while you are sleeping, what you learned and did during the day is orderly, fashioned and stored up. And it just happens, generally, what you learned last is very fresh and very alive in the morning. And if you want to be a smarter learner, flip through that page first thing in the morning once again. And the effect of learning during sleep is clearly pronounced. Many a mother have helped their children with stories, bedtime stories, lessons just before bed, and have made bright learners in their life. Why not make use of it?